I've always felt insecure about my eyes. They were small, hidden beneath monolid lids, barely noticeable. Worse yet, my eyelashes were so thin and sparse that you could hardly see them even from the side. I rarely looked in mirrors, and usually kept my gaze lowered in conversations, as if trying to disappear. These unremarkable eyes made it hard for me to meet anyone's gaze, especially my crushes. And honestly, how could I not feel jealous when I looked at girls with long, perfectly curled lashes? It just didn't feel fair. One day, Gwen, my roommate, came home beaming. She held out 2 boxes of false lashes.
These are for you. The salon had a buy one, get one free deal on lash extensions. Trust me, once you try them, everything will change.
Gwen had already worn hers and looked beautiful, her lashes thick, curled, and dramatic. I couldn't help but wonder what it would feel like to finally like what I saw in the mirror. So I agreed. Without wasting time, Gwen carefully applied glue along my lash line and placed each lash one by one. The moment it touched my skin, I felt a sharp, stinging sensation along my lash line, but I clenched my jaw and didn't flinch. I reminded myself that beauty came at a price, and if that price meant finally being noticed, maybe even by my crush, then I was willing to pay it. Once the lashes were on, I rushed to the mirror and almost didn't recognize myself. My eyes looked different, framed by long, dark lashes. For the first time in years, I felt something like happiness. To make them pop even more, I added a heavy coat of mascara, darkening each strand until they fanned out thick and full. Looking at my reflection, I felt a strange and unfamiliar satisfaction. I was scared that this new beauty would fade too quickly, so I refused to do anything that might ruin it. I avoided water, skipped makeup wipes, and barely touched the skin around my eyes. I believed that if I took extra care, if I treated every lash like it mattered, this new look would last long enough to catch the eye of the one I secretly liked. Then, out of nowhere, my eyelids started to itch. I brushed it off at first. I noticed a few small, blurry white dots clinging to the base of my lashes. I convinced myself it was just dried glue, maybe clumpy mascara. Nothing to worry about. But Gwen wasn't doing well at all. Her eyes were bloodshot, veins branching out like spiderwebs. The skin beneath her lids had begun to swell, puffed up as if reacting to something toxic. Gwen kept blinking, rubbing at her temples, lips pressed tight like she was trying to keep something in. One afternoon, Gwen stepped out of her room holding a bottle of eye drops.
Layla, I think we should clean our lashes and maybe get checked. Something's wrong with mine.
I turned to look at her. Her lower eyelid was swollen, bulging like it might burst. The rim was red and slightly leaking. You're probably just more sensitive than me. I feel totally fine. She gave me a worried look but said nothing more. That evening she decided to go to the clinic on her own. Soon, a strange burning sensation spread from the base of my lashes down into my eyes. I checked the mirror, but all I saw was a red, irritated rim around my eyelids. Thinking it was a mild reaction, I picked up some eye drops, hoping they'd help. But even as the discomfort lingered, I refused to remove the lashes. I didn't want to let go of the one thing that had made me feel beautiful. That night, I went to bed early, hoping sleep would fix it. But my eyelids kept twitching. Annoyed, I rubbed my eye, and that's when I felt it. Something small and wet slid down my cheek. It was light, like a drop of sweat, but it moved. I bolted to the bathroom and turned on the light. Leaning over the sink, I froze. My lashes were infested. Tiny white mites clung to the roots, wriggling in clusters. A few lashes fell, trailing blood. I completely panicked. I grabbed the faucet and splashed cold water onto my face. It felt like blades against my skin, but I didn't care. I scrubbed and clawed at my eyes, tearing off the fake lashes with my nails, no matter how much it hurt. I kept rinsing until my eyes were burning, swollen, and the last of those white dots finally washed down the drain. When the water settled, I looked at myself in the mirror. They were gone. I stood there, shaking, too drained to cry. Then I crawled back to bed, telling myself that maybe, by morning, everything would be fine. I had no idea. The real nightmare was just beginning. Suddenly, I jolted awake, gasping from a sharp, unbearable pain. My eyes wouldn't open. My eyelids were so swollen and tight, it felt like something was pounding beneath the skin. I trembled as I struggled to open one eye. And when I finally did, I was paralyzed with shock. It wasn't just my eyelids anymore. Now the infestation had spread to my eye sockets, my cheeks, even my temples. They were crawling under my skin, and wherever they moved, the flesh began to peel and flake away, revealing raw, red tissue underneath. When I touched my face, I could feel them shifting beneath the surface. One of them burst under my fingers, releasing a foul yellow pus that reeked so badly it made me gag.
Layla?
It was Gwen. She had just come home. The second she saw me, she screamed, dropping the bag of medicine in her hands. I don't know what's happening to me. Please, help me, I whispered, tears streaming down my cheeks. Gwen rushed over, grabbed a pair of tweezers, and tried to pull the parasites from my face. But each time she touched one, it burst open with a sickening pop. When she gently tugged at the skin beneath my eye, a layer peeled away, revealing a nest of hundreds of pale, writhing larvae, squirming like they had just woken up. I collapsed to the bed, too weak to scream. Gwen broke into sobs, hands shaking as she fumbled for her phone.
Please, you have to help her! The lash mites, they started with me, and now they've taken over her!
Cheap, unverified beauty products can be dangerous. Always choose wisely, for your health and safety.
I sat in front of the mirror, carefully putting in a colourful contact lens for my right eye. I was just a regular cosplayer on TikTok, but today I was modelling for an online game character. I only got this chance thanks to Sarah, who unfortunately got an ice dye right before the photo shoot. Sarah, you just had a small surgery. Are you okay walking alone?
Haha, I still have my right eye. My left eye just needs to be covered for a day. I'll be fine. I'm heading out. Molly, today is a big chance for you. Do your best.
I turned back to continue my makeup when suddenly a loud bang shook the table, knocking everything to the floor. Sarah had fallen, her bag spilling all over the floor, mixing with my makeup items. Sighing, I bent down to help her pick them up. After a while, I finally sent Sarah off and focused on getting ready. Sitting back at my vanity, I put in the left contact lens. Only then did I realise I had grabbed Sarah's lens case by mistake. Luckily, the colour wasn't too different. I took out the lens from the solution and quickly put it on. I stood in front of the camera, confidently striking poses. The flash kept flickering, the shutter clicked rapidly. This was the spotlight I had always dreamed of. After a while, my left eye started itching. I frowned, trying to endure it, but my expression wasn't right, and the photographer had to pause the shoot. A staff member quickly walked over, handing me eye drops and a wet wipe. I used the drops, and the burning sensation eased a bit. I signaled to the photographer that we could continue. Standing in front of the camera again, I forced a smile. My eyes stung, but I held back the discomfort to finish the shoot. That night, I came home exhausted and collapsed onto my bed, too tired to remove my makeup. I yawned, my eyelids heavy. In my restless sleep, my eye started itching. Half asleep, I rubbed it without thinking. A sharp pain shot through my eye socket. It felt like something slipped past my eyeball, sinking deeper into my eye socket, but my eyelids were too heavy to open. The next morning, I woke up with my eyes swollen and bloodshot. The corners were crusted with discharge, so itchy that I kept rubbing them. I lifted my eyelid. Underneath was a huge sty. Looking at myself in the mirror, I bit my lip, worried. I couldn't let this ruin my shoot. Only my left eye was infected. It had to be Sarah's lens. I had a makeup shoot today. I couldn't show up like this. I tried icing it and the burning eased a little. But after 15 minutes, the swelling was still there. I figured the infection had turned into an abscess under my eyelid. Out of options, I pressed on the sty, forcing the pus out. A thick white discharge mixed with blood splattered onto the mirror. The pain was unbearable, but at least the swelling had gone down. Gritting my teeth, I put in my lens as usual and headed to the studio. Standing in front of the camera, the intense lights burned into my eyes. Every blink felt like torture. Both of my eyes stung and tears streamed down uncontrollably. In the end, the shoot had to be stopped. I bowed my head and apologized to the team. As soon as I got home, I rushed to my room to remove my makeup. Standing in front of the mirror, I wiped away the smudged foundation with a cotton pad. Both of my eyes were now swollen, bloodshot. I pulled my right eyelid down and saw tiny white bumps stacked together. Carefully, I used tweezers to remove the lens. Then I pulled my left eyelid, but instead of small bumps, a huge swollen lump bulged in the center. Taking a deep breath, I gritted my teeth and tried to take the lens out, but as I pulled, the edge of the lens scraped against the lump. I could almost feel it bursting like an overinflated balloon. Pus and blood splattered, flooding my eye socket. I screamed in pain, frantically wiping with a cotton pad. The pus soaked through, sticky against my fingers. Trembling, I looked at myself in the mirror. My eyes, puffy, red, and glistening with fluid. With shaking hands, I pulled my left eyelid again. There, buried in the swollen lump, was the corner of my lens. I trembled in fear, my whole body shaking uncontrollably. Tears streamed down my face as I bolted out of the house. My vision blurred. Something pitch black blocked the corner of my left eye. Panic surged through me as I stumbled down the stairs. I missed a step. My foot slipped. Pain exploded through my body as I crashed down. A scream tore from my throat. Dizziness. Agony. I forced my eyes open and found myself in a hospital bed.
You're awake. You're very lucky. Just some minor head injuries. But your eyes, there's a serious issue. You tried to pop a sty, which led to an infection and an abscess. The CT scan also showed several foreign objects lodged deep in your eye socket. They look like contact lenses. We need to remove them immediately before they put pressure on your optic nerve.
His words left me frozen in shock. My stomach twisted. Without hesitation, I agreed to the surgery. Lying on the cold operating table, my eyes were fixed in place. The yellow surgical light blurred everything in my vision. I couldn't see clearly, but I could hear. The soft clinking of metal tools told me the procedure had begun. Even though I had mentally prepared myself, the sensation of cold metal scraping against my eyeball made me want to scream. It turned out there wasn't just one lens stuck in my eye socket. One by one, the doctor slowly pulled out dry, shriveled contact lenses. I could only lie still and endure the endless torment. Look at that flower, once so vivid, so full of life. Now its petals hang limp, its colours fade. No matter how radiant it once was, it couldn't escape time, just like me. I used to be a beautiful young woman, the kind people turn to look at. But now I'm just an overweight middle-aged woman, my body weighed down by rolls of fat I can't hide. Every time I scroll through social media and see all those slim, glowing girls, jealousy creeps in. If only I could have my old body back. I had tried everything, fasting, diet pills, juice cleanses, but nothing ever seemed to work. Still, I refused to give up. Somewhere deep inside, I held on to the hope that there had to be a solution out there for someone like me. That night, I desperately searched online for weight loss products. By chance, I came across a video titled Joy's Weight Loss Secrets. She was a beauty influencer who had recently risen to fame.
Have you heard of the miracle drug Ozempic? No dieting, no workouts, just a few injections and you'll lose weight even in your sleep.
My heart leapt with excitement. If a beauty influencer with millions of views like Joy was praising this product so confidently, then it had to be real. This was exactly what I'd been waiting for. I ordered the drug immediately through her link. The Ozempic showed up the next day. I didn't even hesitate. I injected it into my arm with trembling hope. Hope flooded my chest. This had to be the miracle I'd been waiting for. Soon all this stubborn fat would be gone, and I'd finally have the body I used to dream about. Lately, my body has been going through some noticeable changes. I stepped onto the scale, heart pounding, watching the number drop day by day. Ever since I started using Ozempic, I haven't felt hungry at all. My body feels lighter. The dull pain I feel every night is uncomfortable, but it's fine. It's just my body detoxing, like Joy mentioned in her video. I finally worked up the courage to try on my favorite old dress, and to my delight, it fit perfectly. I kept using Ozempic. Each injection hurt so much, but I endured it. I was terrified that if I stopped, everything would fall apart. No matter what, I had to maintain this slim figure. Suddenly, a sharp pain shot through my stomach. Like someone had twisted my insides, I collapsed onto the cold floor, my whole body trembling uncontrollably. My face began to itch, my skin swollen and blistered like it was reacting to something. When I touched it, the burning sensation made me wince. The mirror across the room reflected a stranger. My body was gaunt, my eyes sunken deep into their sockets. I looked like a walking skeleton. Before I could make sense of what was happening, my vision started to blur. I woke up in the hospital, tubes in my arms, wires on my chest. The doctor told me I'd gone into shock. The Ozempic I'd used was fake, laced with toxins.
You're lucky you came in when you did. Otherwise, you might not have made it.
I was stunned, unable to believe what I just heard. The drug I'd been using was fake.
You're retaining fluid. Your body's reacting. There's a chance you'll gain back all the weight and possibly more.
I looked down at my bloated, misshapen body, my skin stretched tight like it no longer belonged to me. It felt like a cruel joke. Everything I'd worked for, everything I'd trusted, all of it was Joy's lie. She had to pay for her lies. I returned to her page, flooding it with dozens of comments warning others. But there was no apology, no response from Joy. She blocked me, erased my comments, and shamelessly went back to posting ads for Ozempic with the same old lie. I was filled with rage and despair, but I didn't know how to reach her. Then one day I saw a post. Joy was going to do an outdoor photo shoot and fan meet. I couldn't remember how I'd gotten ready. All I knew was that I'd brought the vial of Ozempic.
It was a perfect shoot. I posed, smiled, spoke to a few fans while security lingered nearby. Then a woman approached me, her eyes tired and her smile uncertain.
I'm a big fan of yours.
I smiled back out of habit. But before I could process anything more, a sharp sting pierced my arm. I looked down. A needle. She'd injected me with something, then pulled away just as fast. I tried to call out, but my voice caught in my throat. Then came the pain. It started with a twitch in my arm, then a violent jerk. The tremors spread to my shoulder, my chest. I couldn't catch my breath. My limbs spasmed out of control. I stumbled, and the world spun. My skin felt tight, like it was shrinking, peeling back. I looked at my hands. Veins bulged like spiderwebs under glass. My skin dulled to a greyish hue, sagging and melting, as if I were collapsing from the inside out. In the blur of pain and horror, I remembered sitting in front of my ring light, streaming to thousands, maybe millions, holding that damn vial of Ozempic, saying all the things I was paid to say. I knew it was counterfeit. I read the reports. I saw the messages from people saying it made them sick. But the money was good. The followers kept climbing. As long as I looked good, I thought I could get away with anything.
This is the price of your lies.
Now my body was paying the price. It couldn't end like this. This had to be a nightmare. I had to wake up. I had to escape. You think you can mess with me that easily? Keep dreaming. Hey, my lovelies. Linda here, and today, we're diving into something revolutionary. Dermaglow Extreme Peel. Promises a whole new you, overnight. A fresh start. Literally. And who doesn't want to wake up looking brand new? The packaging was undeniably opulent and minimalist lettering that whispered of luxury. Ooh, fancy. Let's see what the hype is about. I unfolded the instructions, my eyes scanning the fine print. Become a new person in one night? Bold claim. But the reviews, they're glowing. A flicker of unease danced across my features. The brand was unsettlingly obscure, almost non-existent, yet the before and after photos were impossibly perfect. This was sent to me by a high-end skincare brand. They claim it's dermatologist approved, though there's not much info about them online. Still, the reviews are amazing, so let's give it a go. I squeezed a dollop of the pearlescent serum onto my fingertips. The texture was cool, almost icy, a stark contrast to the growing heat in the studio lights. Feels nice. A little tingle, but nothing crazy. I applied it all over my face, meticulously following the instructions. The initial coolness morphed into a subtle warmth, then a prickling heat that made my skin tighten. Okay, feeling that kick in. This is just it working its magic. A little facial workout. A very intense facial workout. A few minutes ticked by, each one an eternity. The heat intensified, morphing into a searing burn that made my skin feel like it was stretched to breaking point. I glanced at the mirror, my breath hitching. My face was a grotesque shade of crimson, tiny red bumps erupting like angry volcanoes. Whoa, that's intense. Definitely working. Wow, it's definitely potent. But beauty is pain, right? And trust me, the results are going to be so worth it. Imagine waking up with skin like porcelain, like a goddess. My eyes darted to the chat, where the comments were morphing from excited anticipation to frantic warnings. Guys, relax. It's all part of the process. You know how these extreme peels are. They're intense, but they're also incredibly effective. Just stick with me and you'll see. We're going to transform together. Think of this as a beauty ritual, a sacred transformation. I could feel something shifting beneath my skin, a subtle, unsettling movement. Isn't it amazing how quickly it works? Like, it's really getting deep, you know? It's like it's changing me from the inside out. Ha, ha, ha. Don't you just love that feeling? That transformative feeling? 15 minutes, the recommended time, the point of no return. My face throbbed, a pulsing, agonizing ache. This is more than I expected. Maybe I should rinse it off now. I rushed to the bathroom, desperate to wash it off. But as I touched my skin, a large patch peeled away. Panic seized me, my hands shaking as I frantically splashed water on my face. But it only made it worse. My skin sloughed off in sheets like wet paper. My pores dilated, oozing a thick, viscous fluid. My reflection was a horror show, a grotesque parody of my former self. I stumbled back to the studio, my vision blurring with tears. I looked at the mirror, and my blood ran cold. Something was moving under my skin, squirming, writhing. It felt like insects, like worms, desperate to escape. "Release me." A voice rasped from my throat, not mine. My fingers slick with the viscous ooze, trembled as I fiddled with the camera's focus. Just a little adjustment. We wouldn't want to miss any of the magic happening, would we? The shifting beneath my skin intensified, a frantic, desperate struggle. It's like a butterfly. You know, in its chrysalis, going through its metamorphosis. A beautiful, glorious transformation. The burning intensified, a searing, white-hot pain that made me want to scream. But the smile on my face remained fixed, an unnaturally wide, grotesque grin. Almost there, I crooned, my voice a distorted parody of my usual cheerful tone. Almost perfect. My eyes widened, not in fear, but in a strange, detached fascination. I watched as my reflection began to change, the smooth porcelain skin warping and twisting, forming grotesque alien shapes. Look at what it's doing. It's rebuilding me, making me better. The final layer of skin peeled away, revealing the grotesque alien face beneath. But even as I stared at the horrifying visage, it began to smooth out, to reshape itself. The warped features softened, the alien contours melted away, and a new face emerged. A face that was even more beautiful than my own. Perfect. Finally, perfect. Now, where were we?
I never planned for that life. Waking up each morning to paint my skin the color of cartoon sunshine and pretending for hours to be someone who never really existed. But you didn't always get to choose. Not when bills keep piling up and you're past the age where anyone wants your resume. For 6 months, I worked as a Homer Simpson impersonator at Joy Hill Park. Each day, I covered every inch of my skin in cheap yellow paint that promised to last through anything: heat, sweat, time. The first few times I used it, I noticed a tingling sensation around my cheeks and neck, an itch that stayed until I got home. I figured it was just the weather or something I'd adjust to. It didn't seem serious. People seemed to like me. They waved, smiled, and took photos. Most of all, they loved when I did the Homer Hedge meme. I practiced to get the timing right, easing backward into the bushes the park had planted for that pose. The leaves scratched my arms and sometimes left powdery residue, but I didn't complain. Lately, my shift was flooded with visitors lining up to take photos. They came one after another, each of them looking so eager. I didn't quite understand why. It wasn't until my manager pulled me aside that I found out attendance had doubled. Everyone was excited about that Homer Hedge meme I'd done. So I kept standing there, smiling, slipping into that bush more times than I could count. The kids were thrilled. The adults waited patiently in long lines. Meanwhile, the itching on my neck grew worse by the day, like a swarm of tiny needles digging in under the skin. Still, I kept going. Gritty dust from the leaves stuck to my face and arms, sinking into the paint and turning my skin rough, almost scaly. That week, my boss gave me a small cash bonus. I held it in my hands and thought about how long it had been since I could afford a full bag of groceries. That night, when I got home, I started feeling that something was wrong with my body. My arms were covered in blotchy red patches, and when I scratched them, thin flakes of yellowed skin came off beneath my nails. Under the bathroom light, I told myself it was heat rash or maybe a bad reaction to detergent. I didn't want to stop working. I couldn't. Then one day, someone's video of me doing the Homer Hedge meme went viral. My boss started treating me differently. He called me his golden goose. There was a big event coming up, and if things went well, he said I might even become the face of the entire park. I told myself if I could just push through this one last time, maybe everything could finally change. I added another layer of paint, trying to hide the cracks along my jaw and behind my ears. It burned more than usual, but I told myself it would pass. Later that morning, I looked closely in the mirror and realized the yellow wouldn't come off. I had scrubbed until my skin burned, yet the color clung on, not as a stain, but as part of me. It wasn't paint anymore. It was my skin. Even beneath peeling scabs, the color stayed. A dull, sickly shade, like old plastic left in the sun. As I shaved, thin strips of skin slid away with the blade. The surface underneath wasn't smooth, but rough and cracked. Small raised bumps lined my cheek. I pressed one, and it burst with a thick, yellowish fluid that smelled sour and foul. I rinsed it away, but the smell lingered on my fingers, sharp and wrong, like something rotting inside me. I told myself it would be fine, just get through the event, then go see a doctor. On the day of the festival, the park was more crowded than ever. I stepped into place, waved, and the first group of kids came running. I smiled, raised my arms in Homer's pose, and leaned into the hedge. That's when something inside me pulled tight, like a string snapping in my chest. My arms trembled, my knees gave out. I remembered falling, the gasp of the crowd, the blur of faces. My cheek hit the pavement, and I felt something peel away. There was no sharp pain, just a wet warmth. I saw a piece of my face, yellow, frayed, lying on the ground beside me. A guard rushed over and reached out, but when his hand touched my arm, he recoiled. His glove was smeared with thick, amber-colored slime. I tried to speak, to explain, but my lips cracked, splitting open. More yellow seeped through. My skin started tearing in long, curling strips. Beneath it, the flesh was soft, swollen, oozing and raw, like meat gone bad. I heard screams. People backed away. I tried lifting my hand, but it barely moved. My joints were stiff, frozen in place. I didn't know what had happened in that bush. Maybe it was the paint, or the heat, or that powder that clung to the leaves. Maybe it was everything, working together day after day until my body couldn't resist anymore. Now I sat in a room with white walls and locked doors. They said I was sick. They wouldn't bring me a mirror, but sometimes I caught glimpses in the glass. I still saw yellow. And sometimes the screams came back to me, along with the stunned faces frozen in fear.
They say the face holds your fate, that certain features can block prosperity or open doors to fortune. I used to scoff at things like that, but the truth is, when enough people tell you you look tired, worn, drained, something inside you begins to believe it. Over the years, I started noticing the stares. Not long, not deliberate, just brief glances that always seemed to settle beneath my eyes. As if the dark circles, the swelling, the heaviness I carried there somehow spoke louder than anything I said. They weren't just eye bags. They felt like anchors, like weights that held me down, kept me small, kept good things just out of reach. So when I came across the ad, change your features, shift your fortune, eye bag removal, lifetime guarantee, last day of offer. Something inside me responded before I could reason with it, and almost without thinking, I booked the appointment right then and there. The spa was quiet, tucked inside a building I'd never noticed before. Its windows dim, its hallways strangely hollow, as if the place had forgotten how to welcome anyone at all. As I stepped in, the receptionist greeted me with such warmth, such urgency.
You're so lucky. It's the final day. If you don't decide now, you may never get this chance again.
And I, already so tired of second-guessing, just nodded. I told myself it was fine. They didn't ask much, barely anything at all, and before I knew it, I was lying beneath bright lights, the procedure unfolding faster than I was prepared for. I lay back and closed my eyes as they worked in silence. I felt pressure, a tug, the strange sensation of something sliding free beneath my skin. And then it was done.
Smooth operation. You'll see the difference in days.
And I clung to that promise, hoping it might actually be true. My left eye began healing within 2 days, the swelling reduced, the bruising faded, and I started to believe that maybe this really would change something. But the right eye felt wrong. There was a dull, rhythmic pulse beneath the lid, a pressure that wouldn't subside. By the 3rd day, the area began to itch from the inside, and that night, as I bent over the sink to wash my face, I caught sight of a thin stream of blood curling down my cheek, slow, deliberate, like my skin had started to cry. I pressed gently, trying not to panic, but the pressure was building. Beneath the lid, I could feel something pushing outward, like a fist against silk. The next morning, I returned to the spa, hoping for answers, maybe even concern. But the staff didn't seem alarmed by my bloodied face. In fact, they appeared almost indifferent, as if this wasn't the first time they'd seen something like it. She pressed fresh gauze against my face, offered a soft smile, and said it was all part of the process.
Some people react more strongly, but don't worry. It's already been taken care of.
There was something rehearsed in her tone, something too smooth to be entirely sincere, but I didn't push. Maybe I needed to believe it was still going to be okay. After all, I'd already come this far. At home, everyone kept looking at me, but no one said anything. There was a quiet curiosity in their gazes, as if they were waiting to see if the new me would finally match the woman I used to be. I tried to believe I was on the verge of becoming beautiful. Just a few more days, I thought. Just enough time to heal before the family reunion. That night, I sat at the dinner table with my family, smiling through discomfort, pretending nothing was wrong. But the heat behind my right eye kept rising, slow and searing, until it felt like something inside me had caught fire. And then it happened. A thick, wet warmth slid down my cheek. Without thinking, I pressed my hand to my face, and when I pulled it away, my fingertips were stained with dark blood. I froze. A moment later, the skin beneath my eye began to swell violently, rising like a blister. It throbbed under the weight of every eye in the room. I stood stammering an apology, my legs trembling as I backed away from the table. I pressed a napkin to my cheek and hurried toward the bathroom, ignoring the dozens of stares clinging to my back. Inside, I locked the door and turned to the mirror. What stared back wasn't me. And then, with a wet pop, the skin split open. From beneath the torn flesh, a pale orb pushed its way out, smooth, glistening, wrapped in a thin veil of fluid. Then the eye blinked. It wasn't mine. It wasn't even human. Smaller but fully formed, growing beneath my skin, with a deep red iris and a pupil slowly narrowing to the light. The worst part was, it was looking at me. It studied me. And in that moment, I felt more exposed than I ever had in my life. I stumbled backward, shaking, breath shallow and sharp. My real eye, the one I was born with, had turned glassy, unfocused, as if it had given up. But the new one, this thing, was learning. It blinked again, slower this time, like it was getting used to the world, getting used to being here. In that moment, I realized not every fate is meant to change for the better. Maybe I should have never cared so much about how others looked at me, because now I've lost who I am.
Please be cautious when considering low-cost procedures at unverified spas. These services may pose serious risks to your health, and in some cases, even your life.
I had always envied those Instagram models with their big, sparkling eyes. The way their gaze seemed to captivate anyone, it was mesmerizing. So when I got the chance to try colored contact lenses, I leapt at it. It was my first time, and I'll admit, the idea of touching my eyeball made me queasy. But for beauty, I could bear it. Standing in front of the mirror, I practiced holding my eyelid open, the small lens perched delicately on my fingertip. My first attempt failed. My reflexes forced my eyelid shut. "You can do this," I whispered to my reflection. After several tries, the lens finally slipped into place. I blinked rapidly, tears streaming down my face, but when I opened my eyes, I gasped. My reflection stared back with eyes that looked impossibly larger and brighter. The dull brown of my irises was replaced with a vibrant blue, shimmering like glass. I couldn't help but smile. This was worth it. That evening, I went out with my crush. His gaze lingered on me longer than usual, and my confidence soared. He even complimented my eyes, something no one had ever done before. We laughed, drank, and talked for hours. I felt like the center of his world. By the time I stumbled home, tipsy and giddy, I was too exhausted to think about anything. I collapsed onto my bed, still wearing my makeup and my lenses. Morning came like a sledgehammer. My head pounded, my mouth was dry, and my eyes, they ached. Groggy, I stumbled into the bathroom. The harsh light made me squint, and I rubbed my eyes only for a sharp, gritty sensation to shoot through them. The lenses! I had forgotten to take them out. Looking in the mirror, I froze. My left eye was fine, but the right one looked wrong. The lens had shifted, partially obscuring my pupil. It gave the eerie illusion that I had two pupils in one eye. Great, I muttered. I grabbed the bottle of eye drops and tilted my head back, squeezing a generous amount into my right eye. The cool liquid was a temporary relief, and I reached up, trying to pinch the lens out. But it wouldn't budge. It felt slippery under my fingers, sliding further to the side each time I tried to grab it. My eye throbbed as I poked and prodded, desperate to dislodge it. "Come on!" I hissed, tears streaming down my face. Instead of coming out, the lens seemed to retreat, slipping deeper under my eyelid. Panic set in as my vision in that eye blurred. The skin around it felt swollen, and a dull, radiating pain started to build. By noon, the entire area was red and puffy. My eye burned, and each blink felt like scraping sandpaper. Defeated, I called an eye doctor. The clinic smelled like antiseptic, and the harsh fluorescent lights made my migraine worse. The doctor's calm demeanor did little to soothe my nerves.
"You've got quite a bit of swelling,"
he said after examining my eye.
"I'll try to remove the lens, but you might need more extensive treatment if it's embedded too deeply."
His words sent a shiver down my spine. Embedded? I sat rigid as he used a specialized tool to extract the lens from my left eye. Relief washed over me as the first lens came out, but then his frown deepened.
"Well,"
the doctor said after a few minutes.
"I managed to retrieve one lens."
He held up the tiny translucent piece of plastic, now smeared with redness.
"But the other one, it's deep. We'll need more advanced tools to get it out."
My stomach dropped. "Isn't there another way? Something less invasive?" He shook his head.
"Leaving it in can lead to severe infection or even permanent damage. I strongly recommend we proceed."
The words permanent damage echoed in my mind, but so did the thought of medical bills. I had seen people online remove lenses themselves. If they could do it, so could I. "Thank you, doctor," I mumbled, grabbing my bag. "I'll think about it." Back home, I sat in front of my mirror, armed with a pair of tweezers and determination. My right eye was almost swollen shut, but I pried it open, wincing as fresh tears streamed down. I carefully inserted the tweezers, trying to grab the edge of the lens. Every touch sent waves of pain through my skull, but I couldn't stop. The discomfort only fueled my desperation. "Just a little more," I muttered, my voice trembling. The tweezers slipped, scraping against the sensitive surface of my eye. A sharp pain made me cry out, but I kept going. My hands were slick with sweat, my vision blurred from the constant flow of tears. Or was it blood? Finally, I felt the edge of the lens. I pulled and it slid free with a sickening squelch. Triumph was short-lived. When I looked down at my hand, my stomach churned. The lens wasn't alone. Attached to it was something round, fleshy and glistening. A bulbous lump of tissue hung limply from the tweezers. I froze, my heart hammering in my chest. My right eye was gone. In its place was a dark, gaping socket, raw and glistening with blood. It was as if my entire eye had been pulled out along with the lens. No! No, no, no! I dropped the eye in panic. Dropping to my knees, I searched frantically for my dislodged eye. I glanced around, searching for the eye I had dropped, but the dim light played tricks on me, casting shadows that made my stomach churn. Where was it? My fingers skimmed the cold tiles until they brushed against something round and slick. I grabbed it, holding it tightly in my palm. I had to fix it. Maybe if I put it back quickly, it wouldn't be too late.
I dreamed of the crown since I was little, but no one told me that to wear it I'd have to sell my skin, my blood, my name, and eventually even my smile. My name is Rachel. I grew up in a 10-square-meter slum apartment with a leaky roof and rats that gnawed the corners of our rice bags. While other kids played doctor or teacher, I practiced smiling in a cracked mirror, whispering answers to imaginary beauty pageant questions. I didn't dream of fame. I dreamed of escape. From debt, from hunger, from the burning shame on my mother's face every time we borrowed rice. I believed the crown could be a way out, that beauty could be my one currency in a world that charged interest on being poor. So when they came to me, corporate-looking men with briefcases and practiced smiles, I didn't hesitate. They said,
"We've paved the road for you. You become Miss National, then an influencer, live stream beauty products, a stable career. Just one condition. We implant neural interface to keep your performance optimal."
They called it a win-win. I called it salvation. The training began immediately. For 3 months, I was kept in a white facility where my posture, speech, and even eye-blinking rate were corrected. There were no clocks, no windows, only bright lighting and cameras. Every time I messed up, flubbed a line, missed a smile cue, the neural wires shocked me, not sharp pain. Number A, searing current that jolted through my spine like my bones were melting. At first I cried, then I screamed, but no one came, so I learned to stop resisting. And then I learned to smile. The investors came next, powerful men, silent, evaluating. They sat in rooms where I served wine and compliments, where my job was to amuse, flatter, obey. My manager whispered,
"This is part of the journey. They made you, now you entertain them."
I nodded, not out of agreement, out of instinct, because hesitation meant another electric jolt, a reminder. I was no longer a person, I was a product. My value was in performance, in packaging, in pliability. I won the crown that winter. The lights, the applause, the televised tears. I became the nation's sweetheart. My face appeared on magazines, milk cartons, digital billboards. The whole country celebrated the fairy tale, the poor girl who became a queen. But the real coronation came later, alone, in a locked hotel suite. Instead of jewels, they handed me a live stream rig, a ring light, A branded bathrobe. The crown stayed on, but it wasn't authentic. I never felt its weight until that night.
Time to earn back your value,
they said. I was now the face of Serum X99, a skin-whitening miracle. I sold it every night for 4 hours straight, smiling, winking, thanking thousands of fans for their purchases. I laughed. I shared skincare tips. I told anecdotes carefully written for me. The neural interface was still in me, now so deep they twitched when I breathed. Sometimes I felt them pulsing under my skin like living vines, coiled into my nervous system. I asked when they'd removed them.
When your audience retention drops,
they replied. They didn't need to say more. I understood. As long as I was profitable, I was theirs. One night, I accidentally dropped a bottle of serum backstage. It cracked open, oozing something thick, veiny, twitching, alive. I screamed. The system zapped me. Don't overreact. Keep smiling. Was I selling cosmetics or curses? Every jar I shipped could have carried something grotesque. But the fans believed. They trusted me. They adored me, and that made it worse. I tried to pull the wires out once. Locked myself in a bathroom. Yanked a connector near my forehead. My vision blurred. Blood mixed with static. I lost all sensation in my left arm for hours. They found me, reattached the wires, increased the voltage, cut my rations. I wasn't punished with prison. I was punished with performance. You are valuable, but replaceable. That night I cried without making a sound. Even my sobs had to be beautiful. So I went live one last time, but not to sell. My name is Rachel, I told the camera. I'm not free. I'm controlled. Everything you've bought from me is a lie. Please, help me. They reported my video. Within hours, my name was scrubbed from the internet. My pageant footage deleted. My fan pages gone. My face blurred in photos. My existence turned into a glitch in the system. They yanked out my neural interface, violently, without anesthetic. My skin tore, my memory fragmented. And then they replaced me. A new girl, younger, brighter, paler, shinier. She wore my dresses, my smile. She called herself Rachel 2.0.
Sister Rachel is taking a break.
She giggled.
I'll carry her legacy.
The fans believed her. They moved on like I was a software update. Now I rent a moldy room in the outer slums. No crown, no fans, just my bruised body and a cheap burner phone. I can still feel the ghost of the threads, phantom pain twitching beneath my skin. Every month I must pay rent, so I go on live stream again. This time no wires, no script, no lighting team. Just me and a cracked phone camera. I peddle fake diet pills with forced laughter and cracked lips. I mimic the same expressions I once sold for millions, but now it's for pennies. I laugh not because I'm shocked, but because I'm starving. I smile even though my teeth ache. I say babe to strangers who donate tips. I don't care what the product is. I don't ask what it does. I just read the price and the discount and the made-up benefits. It doesn't even matter anymore. As long as it's cheap, as long as someone out there buys it. The cheaper the better. The faster it sells, the longer I survive. Because the only thing more brutal than being controlled is being forgotten.